Hello, I'd just like to share the peanut buttering on the stringers is done. I ended up having to use quite a bit of resin here on the, you can see the ski locker stringers, or it kind of looks like just a mess. The company didn't really even bed those stringers, just kind of used a chop gun and glued on some parts of the bottom, so I had to grind a lot of that out and then basically bed the stringers and then start fillering in multiple layers. And there's up to an inch gap, so it's kind of hard to even with really thick peanut butter, it didn't want to go up into those voids very easily. So it's kind of a mess. Just kind of had to keep working it and working it. It's kind of to keep it from falling out of these holes. But anyway, I got it thick enough, a little thick in some places and a little rough. So I'm going to have to just grind it down, smooth it before I continue further. But for the most part, where there's actually a decent void to work with, the peanut butter went just fine. You can see that's the last bit setting up right there. I have been having to use wheat flour instead of Cabicel because I can't find any of that locally. I looked up some thickeners. I guess the other alternative would be talc. Some people say that absorbs water, so it's not good to use in a marine environment. But I guess that's debatable. Anyway, I just went and went with wheat flour. I've heard it's really similar to wood flour in structure and everything, and I can tell as I stir it in and as I'm starting to work with it, it turns from a really light color to that dark green color of the resin, and then it hardens back into a little bit of lighter color. But anyway, when it turns that color, I can tell it's actually dissolving good. So I'm not worried about any sort of water intrusion. I'm going to be glassing over the fillets anyway. But ended up using quite a bit of resin just on what I've done so far. I've used at least 2 gallons. That's with wrapping the stringers and chop strand. Doing a little bit of this long chop strand I did the other day. And finally got that done. It's taken quite a few days just to do all these peanut buttering. It's amazing how much time that fills. And I'm basically a layman anyway. I'm not real fast at working it. The other thing I've done is, that's my 1708 right there. I just, while in between layers, while stuff's tacking up, I've just been, just got it laid out, a little bit labeled. What I'm going to do, I'm doing a 7-inch tabbing on the ski stringers. Just, that'll be a little better in the factory, and it's already sealed on top of the wood, so I'm not really worried about that. Just go ahead and reinforce it with the peanut butter, so it'll at least be stronger than it was than starting out with. On the smaller stringers, I'm going with a 6-inch and a 4-inch tab. That'll go all the way almost up the stringer where I had to fill in the hole. It's not quite 4 inches, so that's actually nearly going to go all the way to the top. I'll probably come up a little bit further here on the other side. You can see it's kind of shorter, or that gap's not filled. And I'm going to do the 6-inch layer first and followed right by the 4-inch layer. That way I don't have to worry about the small little gap that the mat will leave in between. I don't have to worry anything about air bubbles, and I'm going to try to do it all as one layer. And then to go over the top of that, I'm going to do either 1 or 2 layers of 1.5 inch chop strand. I'm thinking 1 will probably be fine, but I'll see how the bulk on top levels out to the top of that stringer, because that's what I'm going to have to try to work with. If I get the deck too high, it's not going to fit with the rest of the cap here, or the aft deck. And no way I'm going to end up having to raise that. So anyway, that's the plan. That's all I'm done for the day. I ended up finding, after calling a bunch of paint places, if you're in Lubbock, I can't remember the place right now, I'll put on the next video. But anyway, they only sell the ISO type resin for only $29 a gallon, and it's the laminating resin, so no wax added. So I'm pretty happy with that. Normally I wouldn't be happy about paying $30 a gallon for something, but that's pretty dang good for the price. It's very comparable to online, plus no shipping. Anyway, that's all for the day. I just wanted to share another quick update real quick. The stringers are completely done now. Got all tabbed in, everything's encased, went pretty well. Didn't really have any trouble with air bubbles. The next step is the factory had 3 little 1x4 ribs from approximately there across. I guess that was partially to hold up the floor, and one was just to tie off the end of the ski locker, and I guess just that and support. I'm just going with 2 2x4s instead. That's still plenty of space in there. I just got to do a bunch of little small tabbing. I already have that cut out and prefab ready to go. And went ahead and some of this is still tacking up. I got the 2x4s cut out ready to go. I got yeah, that's the one still tacking up. Just wrapped the whole thing in chop strand mat with a little bit of overlap on the end. And then I got little pieces of chop strand mat and try to cut and fit them and put it around the cap. Some of it looks a little messy around the cap, especially. There, I didn't even bother doing those little side pieces because I have to grind them down anyway a little bit. I just added the end cap on this, glassed it this morning. The white part you see there, it's not air bubbles or anything. That's just where I had to grind a little bit. So it just looks like a little lighter color. Grind off all the stray hairs and stuff like that. It's starting to turn into winter now, so trying to take advantage of time to glass when I have it, just because it's been cold in the mornings and then I have to go work all afternoon. This is the evening. It was still about 70 degrees here at 9:30, so I thought I'd go ahead and just take advantage and glass a little bit and do something else in the morning. May try to work on the motor. I had posted before a while back where I thought I might have some spark issue with it, because I think I only had spark on like 1, 3, and 4. Looking back on it, it doesn't look like any of the switch boxes are bad that way. It's either the stator, or I was using a somewhat weak battery just to test it out, and that could have been the problem. So go ahead and retest that. Still have the impeller to change that I never did, and I still have to find a prop for it instead of just swapping out with my other boat. Trim motor hoses. These hydraulics are leaking pretty bad. Some of these hoses look like they may have been done before. I'm not sure. You can see some of those have the reusable fittings on them for hydraulic hoses. I may try to take it to Napa or something if I already have everything, the hoses cut by themselves. If you buy the hoses, just the part online, it's about a $60 hose. That's per 5-foot hose, so I need 4 of those. I'm not going to spend $250 on hydraulic hoses. I'm just going to make my own. I don't have the crimper, but I read online Napa's supposed to be able to do that for you and not charge too much. Just got to buy the fittings and have the hose trimmed already. So that's definitely what I'm going to do. Alright, I went ahead and just to show you here, the ribs are done on the end of the ski locker. I used 4 and 6-inch tabbing. I peanut buttered to glue them in first before I started tabbing. And it looks like a real stringer system now. Instead of just having those empty ends on the ski locker, it looks all tied in and sturdy. Finally done with the stringers officially. Hopefully the deck and stuff doesn't take quite as long as the stringers. I don't think it'd be quite as hard a fabrication, and I don't have the under compartment like in there to deal with this time. The next step is, I was thinking of buying a paint for the ski locker, but I was reading a little bit about gel coat online, and maybe it'll backfire on me, but it seems relatively simple. Gel coat is basically pigmented resin. It's a little thicker. They use fumed silica usually to thicken it, and that's why it's so hard to roll on, because of how viscous it is. So my plan for the ski locker, and this will be a great way to test out if I can make my own gel coat. I bought some white pigment, and it's you got to make sure it's a pigment that's not dissolved in any kind of water-based type thing. This is dissolved in some type of alcohol. The guys at a specialty paint store told me it should be compatible. It's expensive stuff, $38 a quart, but if I were to order gel coat online, the cheapest is about $50, and that's before shipping. per gallon. And locally, the cheapest locally is $75 a gallon. I thought that was kind of ridiculous when I have $30 resin, and a quart of pigment will get me a long way past this project. It's a white, just plain white titanium dioxide. Titanium dioxide is what you need very much for UV inhibitors, and polyresin is already more resistant. You couldn't do this with just, you have to be careful with epoxy. They make special epoxy paints, but polyesters, especially with the UV inhibitor, should last quite a while. Anyway, since I don't really care about how good the ski locker looks, I want to waterproof it and at least give it a white coat. It at least won't look so terrible. It was originally carpet in there. I figured I'd just go ahead and paint it white, experiment, see how the gel coat idea works out. And the other thing I'm going to do is, you know, might be a little bit harder to roll on or brush, but I got some of my scrap pieces of chopped strand mat and cut them up into like little 1/4-inch strips and tore them apart and made some milled fiber out of it. I'm going to try to do that at least for the bottom coat to give it a little bit of reinforcement, less likely to crack, especially being right on the hole. Any flex could cause some cracking, so I'm just going to try that out. If you can see a little bit of fiber print through, that doesn't really bother me. I just want it to be strong and last for a while. I'm probably going to do 2 coats instead of 3, since I'm not going to be sanding it anyway. It's going to probably have an orange peel look from rolling, but that's fine with me. I'll show you real quick the stuff I bought. This is that local resin I bought for $30 a gallon. And the tint, it says CCA Opti color, just plain titanium white. 1 quart is see the ingredients on there, if that'll zoom in good. Just titanium dioxide, some kind of proprietary, an acetate and a sulfate. So at least there's no water in here, so hopefully it'll mix well with the resin. I guess we'll find out.